तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome back to the Sri Harinam Chintamani series, especially on inattentive chanting. We have been having this series every Saturday and Sunday, and we have been discussing quite elaborately chapter 12, which is inattentive chanting. Firstly, Haridas Thakur mentions that how the Lord has instructed Sanatan and Gopal Bhatta Goswami not to be inattentive while worshipping the Lord. And then he goes on to give the definition of what is pramad. It is the root of all offenses. And this pramad is of three types: audasina, jada, and vikshep. So these three types of pramad, he goes on to define. And after defining these three pramad, then as long as one has not developed anurag, deep attraction to chant the holy names, one should be careful to avoid this offense of pramad. And he should carefully study his mind. The senses are moving towards the sense objects, the heart is attracted to that, and we are also chanting. So our chanting isn't going in one direction. The heart is attracted to Maya. And even if we chant lack of a name, we don't develop taste. And the reason is because of this offense called as pramad. Then he goes on to give the solution. The solution is to chant very carefully the holy names. So this solution is what we have been discussing in the last few classes. We spent two classes from 16 to 19, how to carefully chant the holy names. And then there is another way by which we can become free from Audasinya. And the second method is what we discussed the verses 20 and 21 in the last class. So I'll just go through these verses and then we will go into the PowerPoint presentation to elaborate what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying. So firstly, he has given one solution how to become free from pramad, that is to chant carefully, being in the association of sadhus, chanting in a secluded place, and gradually trying to fix the mind, especially to be near Tulsi or in a holy place in the association of saintly persons, following the example of saintly great saints. So among that, all are very potent, and especially following the example of great saints is how the previous acharyas is to sit for long times and chant the holy names. And especially Tulsi, this we have discussed. Now the second, another way, in this way there is no inattention caused by audasinya, indifference. Now this audasinya is a very, very subtle offense which we commit and which we don't realize, in fact. And firstly, in fact, if you can demonstrate in the form of a skit, these things become clear. What is this audasinya or indifference? Especially when two friends are very close, they are having heart-to-heart friendship, and then there is some difference and their friendship is not sailing good. So one is not in good terms with the other. So although the other friend is there with him, in front of him, because they are not in now talking terms, so there is a kind of internal indifference we show to that particular person who has been a very close friend of us, but now because of some difference, we internally, although we are externally there in front of him along with other friends, but internally we hold on something and we don't open up, and we show a kind of indifference, which is audasinya. So this practically we have experience of this indifference or audasinya. The very same fact at the root of our heart happens in our relationship with Krishna when we are chanting Krishna's names. So the false ego still maintains that identity and doesn't allow us to enter into the relationship with Krishna. And this is the root of the problem, which is audasinya, especially, pramad, especially audasinya. This is what is inattention actually. So how to counteract this inattention is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur has been discussing. So in these two verses, he says, living in a secluded place, atava nirjane bashi, remembering the holy name, smari sadhu riti, acting in a saintly way, indriya pidan kari, controlling the senses, one may fix his mind on the holy name. Nam kare mati. Mati means our consciousness or the mind should fix on the holy name. So he has given few tips here, how one should become free from this inattention. That is, for us, living in the secluded place means living in the temple or even in a home where there is temple. Remembering the holy name means to regularly read about the glories of the holy name. And acting in a saintly way is especially following Vaishnava Sadachar. And controlling the senses, we discuss some of the techniques from the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Few of the techniques. So these are the things he says. Then what happens? Quickly one attains first faith. Satvare namite nishta, and then gradually attraction. Ruchi krame hoy. Gradually the fault of indifference is destroyed. Audasinya doshtara krame hoy shay. Krame. Gradually it gets destroyed. So this is what he has told. Now let us see some of the points regarding this from the PowerPoint presentation. So I will discuss these points, and then if you have questions, we will take up. Okay. Both the previous section, that is 16 to 19, and this section, that is 20 to 22, are indicating that to remove apathy or the offense known as Audasin, one needs to have fixed resolve and enthusiasm. One should fix the mind, because the mind wanders. We have to fix. That is called a sankalpa. So we have to savai mana Krishna padaravindo. Fix the mind on the lotus feet of Krishna means we have to be fixed in our resolve that I will sit here and enthusiastically chant the holy names. This can come at first sitting in the presence of those devotees whose hearts have been taken by Krishna, and then by practicing sincerely what you have learned. So this particular apathy on indifference, the first solution what Bhaktivinoda Thakur also gave in his book is sadhu riti. So sadhu riti is to observe, to just sit in the presence of a holy saint. Just by sitting in their presence, you can experience some peace. Just by their darshan, just by sitting in their presence. Because their hearts are not attracted to Maya. Their hearts are completely stolen by Krishna. And the spiritual energy, the Bhakti Shakti is flowing from their heart spontaneously towards Krishna. So immediately by sitting in their presence and observing their activities, especially observing with a very positive attitude, with a mood of learning, when we observe this, then we would like to emulate. We would like to emulate. So this is the most important principle we should follow. I remember many years back, we were in an auto rickshaw going from Vrindavan to Govardhan to do Govardhan Parikrama. And many of us brahmacharis were sitting in an auto, and there was also a local Brajbasi who was sitting with us. He was a farmer, and he was smoking along while he was sitting in the rickshaw. But he observed all of us, and just by that observation, immediately he threw the cigarette, and he was asking the Vaishnavas that I want to give up this habit and I also want to do bhajan. Kindly instruct me. So this is the impact if we are associating with saints and observing them and trying to emulate them. Then, in this section, we are introduced to a technique used by sages of yore to sit in a silent, closed room. In Vaishnav terminology, this is called a bhajan kutir. So we are aware about a bhajan kutir, especially this is a Gaudiya Vaishnav terminology, you can say. And it started with Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami used to sit on the bank of Govardhan, bank of Radhakund in the hot sun and be absorbed in chanting. And in Vrindavan in the summers, it's extremely hot. And once Srimati Radharani was actually holding a sari to give shade to Raghunath Das Goswami. And Sanatan Goswami came and saw, what are you doing? We are supposed to serve Radha and Krishna, and you're taking service. So at that time, they started building these bhajan kutirs, small kutirs where you could, it's a small place where you could go inside and sit and absorb yourself in chanting. So those who are very, very serious about their chanting, they should try to make a bhajan kutir, even in their homes. especially where they have their altar or a small narrow passage where they can just cut off from the world, or even on the top of the house in the terrace, they can have a bhajan kutir where they can build it with natural materials. So this is a very important if you want to deeply absorb in the holy name. Now about the bhajan kutir, it has been mentioned. In this room, one should wholeheartedly place one's attention on the Lord's sweet name, tasting its honey-like sweetness as it dances on the tongue. So the Lord's holy name are sweet like nectar. Mm. But our uh, heart is affected by avidya. Avidya is the root cause of our material existence, and it's like a jaundice. Somebody whose tongue is afflicted by jaundice, he cannot taste anything sweet. So one should place one's attention on the Lord's holy name, and gradually the taste will come. As Rup Goswami, we have seen this verse. Kintu adarad anudinam kalusaiva jushtat. So this is a very, very important verse which is mentioned in text 7. Kintu adarat anudinam kalusaiva jushtat. Swadvi kramat. The taste will gradually come if we place our attention on the holy name. So this method has to be followed if we want to awaken taste for the chanting of the holy names. The room should not have accessories that will attract the conditioned mind away from Krishna, and if possible, it should be made of natural materials. So don't have in this natural bhajan kutir your accessories or your even plug points there. What is the reason? It is important for the body to remain without any disturbance in frequency. So we have to, the body is made of natural elements, the 24 elements of this creation. And we want to develop the spiritual body by getting tuned to the spiritual sound vibration. So we should be free from artificial material sound vibrations. In fact, recently I read a scientific article which mentions that if you keep your mobile next to you when you're sleeping, and especially when it is on, the body, when it goes to rest, the body biochemicals or whatever it is, the whole composition of the body, they are vibrating at a certain frequency, even when we are at rest. But the mobile network which is there, that is also emanating some radiation, and that frequency can disturb the frequency of the biochemicals within the body, and that's why your sleep is also disturbed in one sense. Although at a gross level you might not realize it, but at a subtle level the body cannot take rest, because the body which vibrates at a certain frequency, the biochemicals, that frequency is disturbed because of the mobile radiation. So it is always best recommended to keep the mobile away from you, far away from you, even when you go to sleep, not nearby you. Don't use your mobile as an alarm clock. Mobile is meant for mobile, for talking. So use an alarm clock, especially that which doesn't make sound, a digital alarm clock, if you want to get up. So the body should not have any disturbance in frequency. The more natural the environment, the better it is for meditation. The room should be darkened. It should be darkened. Sorry. The room should be darkened. Or at most have a small amount of natural light or candle light, as opposed to the frequency and light emanated from artificial lighting such as tube lights. So quite precise, we are giving these explanations because during Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time, times were different. It was 200 years ago. where all that natural environment was there. Now we are in artificial light. In fact, at night time, when it is dark, naturally the body slowly comes down and it is meant for rest. But because of these artificial lights, we are artificially trying to be activated and be energetic to do activities in the night. You see some of the plants, after sunset, they gradually go to sleep. In fact, if you see a amalaki plant, amla, the amla plant leaves, gradually at sunset, they close. And with the sunrise, they gradually open. So we are supposed to settle down and gradually go to rest, but we become active in the night. And all this is because of artificial radiations in and around us, especially tube light, modern electricity. So we should avoid this even in that Bhajan Kutir. These few texts of Sri Harinam Chintamani provide advice on hearing the holy name. Many devotees tell me that, can we visualize Krishna? Can we remember pastimes? So many things. But we have to hear the mantra. That's it. Prabhupada said, just hear the mantra. When we receive these instructions, we must implement them with full determination. That means just hear the sound vibration and don't focus of anything. In chapter 15, after we have been instructed on the offenses to avoid and the correct way to meditate on the holy name, we will be given further instructions on seeing the form of the Lord. So from Nam comes Rupa, then Guna and Leela. So how progressively we'll be advancing. Chapter 15 is the last chapter of Sri Harinam Chintamani, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to give some confidential secrets on how to enter deeper into our internal bhajan, how from Nam Rupa will come, then Guna and Leela will come. He is going to explain that. Then in a progressive manner it should be, we will be taught merging the name and the form with the qualities of the Lord, and then merging with the pastimes. These instructions will come later. Now we must learn correctly how to concentrate on hearing the name. So just we have to concentrate to hear the sound vibration. That's it, nothing else. The tongue should vibrate the holy name and the ear should hear the holy name. So to hear the holy name, the mind's attention should be there on the sound vibration. That's it, nothing else. So we saw that principle also. When the heart is open, the mind is closed. And when the mind is open, the heart is closed. So open your heart to Krishna's grace, to Krishna's beautiful pictures, and absorb yourself in hearing the mantra. And then the mind is closed. But if you are dealing with the mind and not putting your heart in the chanting, then it's all the time you're battling with your mind. So Srila Prabhupada said, just hear, just vibrate and hear the mantra. So this principle we have seen. When the heart is open, the mind is closed. Now, another method. Another way that is prescribed is that one may cover the head and face with a cloth. This we spoke, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about it in his footnote. The reason for this is to block out sensory perception that may cause distraction. This can also be achieved by opening the eyes only a very small amount, just enough to allow a little light to get in, but not enough to see anything. With practice, this can be a very powerful way to control the senses from distraction. This we have already discussed Bhruvar Madhye. When we discussed Bhruvar Madhye, we discussed either we can take the eyes internally and focus on the tip of the nose, and then we are practiced, then we can just close the eyes and focus on the in between the eyebrows, and just being in the present moment, just hear the mantra. The technique of sitting in a closed room alone and meditating on the name is something that all devotees should do at one stage in their development. It is like going through fire. So this technique has to be done if one wants to seriously enter into Nam Bhajan. So in the beginning stages, especially devotees should come in the association of devotees, chant regularly. But as one's devotion advances and becomes internal, it is recommended that we'll have to follow this technique. Now, many of the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, later on after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this world and went back to the spiritual world, many of his associates who came later on, they all practiced this. The 6 Goswamis practiced this. They used to go in particular places in Vrindavan and sit there, and they had their bhajan kutirs there, and there they used to absorb themselves in chanting. In fact, many of the associates who were staying in Govardhan, they used to not be inside Govardhan, somewhere near Govardhan. They used to go inside the caves in Govardhan, and just to cut off from the external environment. Although Govardhan and Vrindavan is a spiritual place, they used to go within the caves, inside, deep, dark in the caves, and sit and do their bhajan. So we can imagine 300, 400 years back, there was no material sound vibration for them to disturb. And Vrindavan being a very holy place, it was completely forest. Only natural sounds you could hear, chirping of the birds. So even in that kind of a condition, the very powerful eternal associates of the Lord felt a need to go within the caves, in the dark caves, and sit and do their bhajan. So how much more important for us it is, at least firstly, to come in the association and chant. Then later on, when if we do this over a period of years, like 5 years or 10 years, then slowly with the guidance of very advanced devotees, these other practices which have been mentioned here should be taken, because going alone also has its own dangers. Maharaj Bharat, although he was very elevated, he had given up his royal opulence of a king. He had given up his beautiful wife and children, as though it is like malavat, the Sanskrit word which is used, as though one answers nature call and discharges it, and he doesn't look back. So because his heart was attracted to Krishna, he had attained the stage of bhava, and he was in the forest meditating on the absolute truth, absorbed. He had attained the stage of bhava, but yet he became attracted to a deer. So practicing alone requires a lot of purity of heart, and alone means also in the sangha of devotees who are of like-minded. So especially when we go to yatras, we can see that we go to attend especially japa seminars, where we can hear about the holy name and sit and chant the holy name. So in the only in the advanced stages it is mentioned that we should practice this. But even for grahasthas who are who are far away from the temple, they can practice this sitting alone in a secluded place and chanting for few hours for focused bhajan. One should understand that when one begins to chant Hare Krishna, one is declaring war on the materially motivated mind. Using this technique, a sadhaka meets the enemy face on and does battle via using the strength of the pure sound vibration of the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So when we start applying this technique, actually we are facing the enemy right in front of us. Otherwise, we are sleeping in the lap of Maya when we are doing inattentive chanting, and Maya is not going to trouble us because we are already sleeping. But moment we are alert, we are on our toes, as it is said, then the opponent, that is Maya, will also start attacking us. We are facing the enemy. So our strength is what? The holy name. We'll have to, try to chant the holy name. The enemy, the material mind, is very crafty and quickly learns to mutate your attempts to focus on the spiritual sound vibration of Lord Krishna's name into a material attempt to focus on a given object. So the mind has such inconceivable power that anything spiritual also, it can, make it something mundane. So the deities are completely spiritual, but the mind will say, oh, this is a statue made of wood. So this is the ability of the mind. So the mind is very crafty and very quickly it learns, oh, this person is trying to focus on the spiritual sound vibration. Now let me, try to somehow make it material. Somehow try to focus, take his attention and try to make him focus on something material object. So this is how the mind will try acting, and that's where the real battle begins, in the real ground, that is the heart. Then, as quick as a flash, that millimeter of space he has gained is turned into an entire space-time continuum, and the mind is given full facility to think of any material concept and take you to any material place. So this is how mind, little bit it is space looking for some material thing. We are chanting and we might think, oh, let me build a temple for Radha and Krishna. So although it looks like a spiritual activity, but while chanting, we have to just hear the holy name. So then we have been told, oh, it is good to meditate about, building a temple, and we are chanting and we go into a imagination zone, and it is in a different zone now, and the mind has now completely captured us, and we are into like, we are developing all our visual designs of the temple. So many things we go we are taken by a ride, in fact, in one sense. So this is how the mind can quickly act. So we should be very, very, very careful. So one devotee told me a story that once a sannyasi who was abroad, this is not a true story, he built a temple for Radha and Krishna. And after building the temple, the deity spoke, now you go and tell that anyone who comes and takes darshan of me, the divine couple, they will become liberated from the cycle of birth and death. So you go and preach, please come and take darshan. So this sannyasi went to a house and knocked the door. And a kid opened. He said, please come and take darshan. I've opened a temple. And just by taking darshan, you'll become free from the cycle of birth and death. The kid said, I am busy with my studies. Ask my father. So he approached the father. He said, please come and take a darshan. I have opened in a foreign land a temple of beautiful Radha and Krishna. Please come and take darshan. He said, I am busy with my office. I'll come some other time. You go and ask my father. So he went to the grandfather now. The grandfather, he said, no, I'm busy taking care of my grandchildren. I don't have time. So like that, he approached many people and none were ready. So very dejected, very depressed. He came back to temple. Oh Lord, so many people I approached to come and take your darshan, and nobody was ready to come and take your darshan. What to do? Anyway, the Lord spoke. He said, you are taking my darshan, so I will take you back to Godhead. Then immediately sannyasi, no, 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 don't take me back to Godhead. I want to run this temple. I want to maintain this temple. Who will take care of this temple if I come back to Godhead? So our tendency to control is very deep rooted. So the mind tendency here, the mind, Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita, Indriyana Manaschashmi. Among all the senses, I am mind. So the mind is God in one sense because it has God-like powers. So the mind has this God-like powers to control because Krishna is the controller and the Jiva has the same tendency to control. So even if I have observed in many cases, the body is old, it is very sick, but the mind is very, very strong and adamant to do what it wants. Very, very adamant. If you tell an old man to chant Hare Krishna, he'll say, no, I want sense gratification. So this is how the mind is very, very strong. It has God-like powers. So similarly, the mind will do this when we start facing the enemy face to face. In this way, the mind bewilders the intelligence and covers one's vision. The idea of repeatedly sitting in a closed room and meditating on the Supreme Lord's holy name is that you will not give further fuel to the material mind, and in time, you will get a clear understanding of the enemy without other distractions. So slowly, as you start doing this, you will understand how the mind is bewildering me. And further, you will not give fuel to this material mind, and you will start understanding how the enemy is acting. Especially, this is very subtle phenomena which happens within us, but parents can observe if the child is very naughty and somehow he wants to escape and not do homework, he will give so many reasons, so many ways he will find out, and the parents can understand the nature and how to uh, you know cut all these distractions what the child is presenting and put him focus on his study. So the child will come up with crafty excuses to avoid the task of studying. And the parents studying maybe once or twice, he might give genuine reasons and he might escape. And the parents find out that. And then they understand, oh, this kid of mine is playing a trick. So they will, over a period of time, understand the tricks, what the child is playing. And then they have understood it. And then they will take care of it. They will handle it. They will deal with it. So similarly, the mind is like that. So we will understand at a subtle level how the mind is playing these tricks, and we will not allow the enemy give further fuel, and then we will be able to chant without any distractions. With the help of the Lord, you will realize that the only way to defeat the mind is to repeatedly bring the mind back to the sound vibration of the Maha Mantra. Once a specific amount of purification has been acquired, the mind will naturally gravitate towards the holy name, and one can then begin real meditation. So it is a long battle for us to keep the mind on the holy name. And once we start keeping the mind on the holy name, the mind's material tendencies slowly come down and the purification of the heart happens and the mind becomes naturally now attracted to the holy name. And then our real meditation begins. The technique of covering one's head with a cloth also facilitates meditation on the pastimes of the Lord, which manifest as scenes played before the consciousness of the meditator. So if now we close our eyes on the mind screen, whatever is there in our chitta, consciousness, contaminated consciousness, unlimited images, visual images are there, and that is what is being played. and we can all experience in the dream. When in the early morning we get up, we dream, and all these imagery pictures are being played in the dream world. But when the chit has almost purified, Cheto Dharpan Marjanam, then the spiritual images will start being played on the mind screen. So this naturally happens with the purification of the heart. And just to give an hint, it is only after the stage of Ruchi, Asakti, and further in the stage of Bhav. It's not before Anarth Nivritti. Before Anarth Nivritti, the heart is still having a lot of anarthas, and we have to focus on the holy name that time. This is more difficult to achieve while light brings in sensory information from the eyes. Therefore, to block out this sensory activity is an important part of meditation. So it is important because light brings on sensory information. So when it is dark, we cannot see things. But if you on the light, we can see things, and then the things what we see, the thoughts will go in that direction. So that is why, especially nighttime, this light. Once one sannyasi told me that light is sense gratification. Light is lust. Light is lust. Because when you on the light in the night, you start doing sense gratificatory activities. So that's why light is lust. So that's why we have to block this light. And that is important for meditation. So I will take another point, but there is one question here. Yes, Prabhuji, I don't know who is this. You can type your name. Yes, what is your question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, it is me, Rao Mataji.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Prabhuji, you said Audasinya. Haribol?
Yes, yes, I'm able to hear.
Yeah, you said Audasinya. That my question is, sometimes we feel very, very enthusiastic. Sometimes we feel very low. Sometimes we feel very active. As you said, ki, doing japa on half an hour or something, then we'll get interest. But sometimes, whatever, half an hour or 1 hour, the mind will simply run here and there. And my question is this any, this you say that jatak, any are stars? Is star reflects us, our mind, or why we behave like that?
Okay, it's a very important question that Audasinya problem we have been discussing, and we see that sometimes the mind is very enthusiastic, sometimes it is not so enthusiastic, and why this happens. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his Madhurya Kadamani, he explains that when one starts bhajan kriya, anarth nivritti starts happening. And he speaks about 6 stages of anarth nivritti which we go through during bhajan kriya. The first stage is what is called as utsamai. Utsamai it is. Utsa means enthusiasm. And enthusiasm, in one sense, you can translate as love. Pure love, I'm speaking now. But utsamai means it is not pure love. Initial beginning of, attraction for Krishna's devotees, holy name, pure devotees, dham. So this is the beginning stage of our spiritual life. That's why when we come in the beginning stage of pure life, everything looks new, a new founded religion. We are very enthusiastic for doing service, for practicing spiritual life. But this stage doesn't stay for long. But Utsamaya stage is required because it propels one in the practice of devotional service. Just like a jet, it requires very high fuel for it to take off, and then against the gravity, against the forces, to launch itself out in the sky. So similarly, the bhakti, shakti, in the beginning is manifested in the form of utsamai, where one propels in devotional life as though we feel that, next few days I'll become a pure devotee, we feel. So this is the stage of Utsamai. But as I was mentioning, this stage doesn't stay for long. Why? Because the heart is not pure. So the next stage, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions, is what is called as Ghana Tarala. Ghana means thick, Taral means thin. So sometimes we are very enthusiastic and we chant sitting in one place 16 rounds during the festivals or during yatras. We come back home and our to-do things, our job, our anxieties take over, and we can't even chant sitting in one place 4 rounds. So our bhajan sometimes is ghana, sometimes is taral. So these are all the psychological effects which are happening on the mind because of the impure heart, because the mind is not pure, and the mind or the mati is not having pure attraction towards Krishna. So the mind is swinging from these levels, ghana and taral, ghana, taral. So this is that stage, ghana, taral. And when we are going through this stage, one should not become morose. Oh, what is this? I'm going through thick and thin stage. Sometimes I'm very enthusiastic in my practices. I chant every day 16 rounds, and some days I can't even chant my 2 rounds. So this should, we should see these activities in a very introspective way and understand, oh, there is impurities in my heart and I have to work on it. So like that, in a positive note, we should take, and how to gradually attain steadiness, we'll have to work on it. And that is why these stages of bhajan kriya are called as anishtita bhajan kriya, unsteady devotional service. The devotional service is not steady. And these are the subtle inner journey which is happening, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is discussing that in the Madhurya Kadambi. The next stage he says is Vyuda Vikalpa. Vyuda Vikalpa means the intelligence is bewildered hearing the Shastras, whether I should renounce family life and fully absorb in bhajan, or whether I should with my family practice bhajan, or I should settle my family people and then move to Vrindavan. Like that, the intelligence is bewildered and it is oscillating because not having the purity of the heart. And then there is the fourth stage, which he calls it as Vishaya Sangara. Vishaya Sangara means battling with the senses. Sometimes we are able to control the senses. Sometimes we fall victim to the sense enjoyment because anarth nivritti has not fully happened. The senses are battling with the sense objects. It's a tug of war, internal tug of war, which is happening. Then the next stage he says is Niyama Kshama. Niyama means rules. You set on certain rules that in Ekadasi, I will chant 64 rounds every Ekadasi. First day I chant, first Ekadasi, second day I'm able to do only 40. Third time I come to 24. I'm not able to maintain vows what I take. So why? Because lack of purity of the heart. And then there is Taranga Rangini. As we advance to higher levels of bhajan kriya and anarthas are almost destroyed, then we start relishing or forelicking in the fringe benefits of bhakti. Devotees like our lectures, so we get carried away by that, and devotees are attracted to us because bhakti is there in the heart, but we get carried away by following. So these are Taranga Rangini, trying to float in the waves of the ocean and not going deep in the ocean. So once one crosses all these stages of anarth nivritti, then there is steadiness. So this is what is happening internally. And as you mentioned, yes, you recognize it. So it means that we have to go deep in our bhajan. And here in Harinam Chintamani, these points have been discussed so that how we can fix the mind on the holy name and attain attention for chanting the holy names. Okay, there is one more question by Dr. Archana Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Haribol Prabhuji. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. I have two questions. I've been struggling with these two bad habits of mine. One is procrastination, and second is multitasking. I mean, how to maintain the loyalty to one task at a time. Even I'm chanting, as you explained previously, also your mind wanders here and there. And simultaneously, when I'm watching this video of yours, since my camera is off, so I'll be very honest, I was looking for my WhatsApp chats and looking for the mails as well. So, how am I supposed to overcome these two habits?
Yes,
Struggling for a long
yes.
period of a time.
Yeah. It's not only your problem, this is everyone's problem today in the world, and especially for spiritualists who are practicing spiritual life. And as long as we don't get rid of these things, it is extremely difficult to focus the mind on any task, on any object. Now, firstly, let me explain these 2 points which you brought out, procrastination and multitasking, and how we should see it in the light of the scriptures and what practical steps we should take. So, these few points I will be speaking. Firstly, procrastination uh, uh, is the disease of the mind, especially in the mode of ignorance. The chitta is affected by the modes, the psychological forces which act on the mind: goodness, passion, and ignorance. So, one of the symptoms of one who is in the ignorance, in the Gita, it is mentioned Dirgha Suti. Dirgha means long. Dirgha Sutra. Dirgha Sutra means long. What takes a very small amount of time, he takes a long time to do it because of the mode of ignorance. And what activity he should do now, he will give a reason. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Maybe I will do it day after tomorrow. Like that, he keeps on procrastination. Dir means long. So the task in hand is there that I should do it now, clean it, and I take an excuse and I don't do it. I'll give a simple example. Like, suppose I'm taking bath and I've kept my clothes for washing. Immediately after I take my bath, I wash it within 5 minutes and then go and hang it. But the mind will come with a reason. Oh, you have some other thing to attend. You have to attend to some other business. So do it later on. So the mind is lazy. And this sign of laziness is a sign of ignorance, that the effect of the modes is there of laziness. So this to deal with, actually externally we know, but internally how the modes are acting, we don't know. So only if we come to the mode of goodness, we can recognize this and start working on it. So firstly, we have to have a lifestyle which is in the mode of goodness. We'll have to work on it over a period of time. We'll have to note down that how I can practice or lead a lifestyle which is more in the mode of goodness. And the most important thing is to study these modes, which is given in the 14th chapter, especially in the 18th chapter, I think verses 18 till 40. How these modes, determination in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, knowledge in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, happiness in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, work in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. These 6 things have been discussed in the 3 modes. So one has to study this, and one has to recognize now where I am situated. And in order to go up, what I'll have to do, he'll have to work on that, and so that he can become free from this procrastination, which is effect of the mode of ignorance. Now, multitasking again is the activity of the mode of passion, rajagun, distraction. The mind doesn't want to focus on one thing; it wants to go to the next thing very quickly. Changing these TV channels. You're not observing one channel; you keep on changing from one channel to another channel, and you don't see any channel even for a few minutes. And in fact, the more you change the channel, you feel they are much better, but you're being cheated. So this multitasking, now somebody told me Now you could change channels and see, maybe when you're seeing one channel, uh, the mind wants to see what is in the other channel, and you go to another channel, and you cannot focus on that also. But now there are TVs being designed where you can play two channels simultaneously. And suppose somebody has interest in cricket and at the same time he wants to watch the news. So now TVs have been designed so that you can do these two activities at the same time. This is how we are being cheated. So this multitasking is a very serious disease, which is because of hyperactivity of the mind, and it is the effect of the mode of passion. And one has to firstly make a sankalpa. Now I am going to do this activity and not anything else. So this is the task we have to give to the mind. Otherwise, the mind will go into its autonomous mode of multitasking or whatever, because we are habituated. And these habits are not of this lifetime, they are of millions of lifetimes. So to get rid of it, we'll have to give sankalpa, the task, to the mind. And we'll have to study how the modes are affecting our psychology. Especially I mentioned Bhagavad Gita 18.18 to 18.40. We'll have to study. We'll have to work on a lifestyle where we live in the mode of goodness and only do one activity at a time, where the consciousness can be fixed. So only if we start doing this, then there is some hope. Otherwise, with city life, with all these distractions, although we have got this greatest treasure of wealth in the form of the holy name, we will over a period of time lose it, and everything will become mechanical, and externally we'll be like devotees, but internally we are not getting that satisfaction in spiritual rasa. So we'll slowly within the spiritual circle glide onto some kind of material rasa in the form of, taking pleasure in some other things which seem like devotional, but it is not devotional. So like that it will happen. So we'll have to work on it. There is no other choice. Is it okay, Mataji?
Yes.
Okay, there's another question. Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, it's me again. Prabhuji, sometimes bhaktas simply says, wow, Mataji, you're doing so much, you're doing that, you're doing this. Simply they praise. Simply. Because of to not to do any aparadha or something. Oh, you're doing this with this seva, you're doing. That gives us simply what you say that word? I don't get the word.
Yeah.
We feel like ego. Oh, I am doing so much. Proud. I feel very proud. Oh, Vapre, I'm doing so much. Wow, it is so nice. Why I should do this? Simply it gives me proud. So is it good to praise simply, or if anything they are doing? See, if I am doing something very little, you just
I
praise
got a point.
them.
Basically, there are two things here. If we are doing devotional service and if we are doing nicely, and the devotees praise us also, firstly, we should be focused in our service and not, not too much get carried away. In fact, once the praise comes, also we get carried away by that. So there is a famous story which is there in one of the holy book names. Like once, what is it called? Millipede. This which has many legs. It's called as a millipede. It's a millipede. Millipede had, it was moving. These millipedes have many legs, 100 legs or 200 legs like that. And the butterfly, which only flies with two wings, it came and praised. Oh, wow, when you walk, the grace with walk, the way you walk, it's like a beautiful dance. And, how do you lift your 50-second leg and then you later on lift your 90-second leg. He asked this question, and then this millipede went into a paralysis of analysis, and he tried to artificially try to lift his some of his legs, and he could not do what he was naturally doing with grace. The movement, you can see when the millipedes walk, the movement of the legs is so natural, it's just like going like this, from different. And if you observe that also, it's very interesting to observe. So when we are doing devotional activities, even if these praises come, then we go into the analysis and then we get carried away. So we should be fixed in our service and not get too much distracted by this too, one thing. Secondly, genuine appreciation when it is done, that appreciation comes from the heart. And that kind of appreciation, is required for us, which will further give an impetus for us to become more focused in our devotional service. So that kind of genuine appreciation, rarely which is done, that is required, and that gives a boost in our devotional activity. But usually we should be careful to avoid these other things which come up, this these praises and all. With praises also will criticism come. When praises come, we get carried away, the false ego is boosted. When the criticism comes, the false ego becomes down. Pride has this positive aspect and negative aspect. So pride is again an aspect of false ego only. So when we are praised, we become more proud. It's again our false ego is boosted. And when we are criticized, then we become morose. So that's the negative side of pride. So ultimately, we still lack the genuine humility of the soul. So purification still has to happen. So this we'll have to see and not get distracted by these praises which come, and we become focused in our service. And genuine appreciation from the heart, we all need in our devotional service. If we don't get that, then we'll start feeling I'm so much doing and nobody is recognizing my service. But those who are genuine devotees, they will recognize and they will genuinely appreciate, and that is like a propeller for us to further advance in spiritual life. And we should see the difference between the two. So there are just 2-3 points in the slides which I will take and end up here. Okay. Yes. As attraction for the holy name develops, inattentiveness and distraction will gradually vanish, and they will be replaced with meditation on the pure sound vibration, Shabda Brahma. Eventually, meditation on the Lord's pastimes, more commonly known as Smarana, will manifest as a natural result of meditation on the name, Nama Bhajan. So, one of the questions was about multitasking. How multitasking is so detrimental, not only for material life, but spiritual life, because remembrance or smaran, or to focus on one object, especially a spiritual object. In the Ashtanga Yoga, there is Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, and then Pratyahar, and then Dhyan. So Pratyahar is withdrawal of the senses from the subject objects, and Dhyan is meditation. Meditation on the object of the subject and the object. Now, Dhyan, according to Vara Puran, if somebody is able to fix his mind on a particular object for 12 seconds, he has attained the stage of Dharan. Sorry, not Dhyan, Dharan. Dharan means to hold. To hold on what one is observing for more than 12 seconds. To hold on for a particular thought, think about some subject for 12 seconds also is not so easy. Now, because the mind, we know that according to medical science, that in a day alone, maybe 40,000 or a lakh thoughts come to our mind. So to hold on to one thought for 12 seconds, that is achievement of the stage of dharan. And dhyan is what? 12 into 12. That is 144 seconds, 2 minutes and 14, 4 seconds. No, sorry, 24 seconds, 2 minutes and 24 seconds. That is dhyan. And samadhi is 144 into again 12. So that is around 24 minutes. So how difficult it is to focus on one object, how difficult it is to focus on just the sound vibration. So to come to that stage of smaranam is a huge task. And that's why we'll have to avoid these other distractions and try to focus on the holy name, Nam Bhajan. So this is where we end. Now the next topic in Harinam Chintamani is the nature of inattention created by inertia, or what is called as jad. The nature of inattention created by inertia. Jad janite anavadhan lakshan. So now the next type of pramad, how to overcome it, how to counteract it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to speak from verses 22. From verses 22 to 31, he is going to speak. In fact, here it is only 20 and 21. By mistake, I have, I think, changed it. So that he is going to speak in the next section, which we will take up tomorrow. This is a very long section. A lot of points are here, and we will deal with this tomorrow. Any questions, any further clarifications till now what we have discussed? Okay, so we will stop here. Shri Harinam Chintamani ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Hare Krishna.